Banner Knowledge Bowling. I'm Steve. We're back in the classroom and we're here to talk about the sixth topic, how to practice. I think this is a great topic. I know that you've done this. I've done it as well. Go into the bowling center, you have about an hour, you go there, you throw a bunch of shots, you go home. Did you improve? Did you get any better? I think the very first thing to talk about how to practice is you got to have a plan, and then you got to work the plan. So what is your plan? And what are you going to try to accomplish out of your practice session? One thing you could start with, for example, are the 5 adjustments. Maybe you want to work on some different releases. Maybe you want to work on throwing the ball at different speeds, different lofts, what have you. Have a plan and work that plan. Now, I feel when you're working on something in practice, this is the time to try. This is the time to try to do things that are different. While you're in competition, you want to do. We just talked about the continuum theory. That gets you into the this is what I'm going to do stage. You don't want to try things when you're in competition. Here's the time to try. But when you're trying things, limit it to 3. I feel if you try to change more than 3 things or think about more than 3 things, it gets confusing and it gets difficult. I also would argue that you get a good 10, maybe 15 shots at trying something new before your mind starts to wander and you get a little bit of that diminishing return. So you get a good 10, maybe 15 shots to try that something new. So in my example here of you got about 3 things to work on and you get about 10 shots or so, that's that 3 to 5 game area of shots, and you're going to have that for about an hour. And I feel that is a good practice session. If we try to do more than that, we're going to potentially bring in some bad habits. So maybe we're trying something and we're not doing it correctly, but it's so new to us, the feels are kind of new and all of that. We're going to maybe groove in something that is not a good technique. So when you're focusing on something, try to focus on 3 things or less. Never try to do more than 3 things in one practice session. And while you're practicing, I feel you got a good 10, maybe 15 shots to try something new. So here's an example. Maybe you're working on the speed of the bowling ball and you want to increase the speed. The way I would do that is I would want to increase my foot speed. So I would work on trying to increase my foot speed. I would work on the continuum theory in here and say, okay, my feet are going at the foul line on a scale of 1 to 10. I'm getting to the foul line at a 4 pace. And I want to make that an 8 pace. And I would work on, okay, I want this to get to an 8 pace, and I would throw the bowling ball, and then I would look up, and am I throwing it faster? And I would get about maybe 10 shots of that to see if I could actually improve, throw it athletically, in balance, with the faster ball speed. After about 10 shots or so, I feel like you need to have a shallow focus. Maybe shoot some spares, maybe focus on something else for just a little bit, and then you can come back to it. And you can say, okay, I need my feet to go faster, but I'm a little off balance, so maybe my push away is, I'm a little controlling on my push away, and I got to get that moving quicker. So then in the next 10 shots or so, I'm going to focus on, okay, get my feet going at that 80%. I'm going to get that good push away. I'm going to end up at that foul line really balanced and try it again. I feel that if you work on your technique that way, you can stay fresh, you can stay focused, and you can laser in on what you're trying to do. Again, if you try to change speeds, change release, change loft, and do multiple things, I feel like your practice is going to be a little scattered and it may not be as effective. Focus on what you're trying to do, give it a good 10 to 15 shots, and then move on to the next thing. The other thing that I'd like to say about practice is even if you want to average 230, you're still going to shoot 4, maybe 5 spares a game. if you're not devoting time to your spare shooting in your practice, I think you're taking away from your potential. If 40% of your frames are going to be spares, 40% of your practice should be spares, and we all probably have a higher percentage than that. One thing you can try to do, and I learned this from Coach Fred Borton as well, he calls it the 21 gun salute, is to first shoot the 10 pin and try to make it on the right side. Then when you make it on the right side, shoot the 10 pin, try to make it in the middle, and then when you're shooting the 10 pin, try to make it on the left side. And once you've done that, move to the 6 pin and try to make it right, middle, left. Then move to 3 pin, right, middle, left, 1 pin, right, middle, left, and then the 2, the 4, and the 7. So that would be 21 shots. And if you can make those shots and hit that part of the pin across the lane, you should be able to make 95+% of all spares and most splits that we're facing. So, a lot of good information here. Have a plan, work your plan. When you're working on something, a technique, don't think about multiple things. You can get a couple of things to think about. You get much more than 3, it gets confusing. I also feel that you can only really focus hard in a trying type scenario for 10 to 15 shots. Once you get beyond that, you're just going to get mentally tired and you're going to get diminishing returns of what you're trying to do. I highly recommend leaving it, have a shallower focus. Maybe you can come back to it and do it, do another 10 shots after you've changed your focus for a little while. The last thing is, don't forget about your spares. Practice, practice, practice your spares. If you go to any professional tournament, you're going to see the ones that are making the cut, the ones that are making the finals, are the ones that are making the most spares. We want to get 10 pins down, 1 or 2 balls every frame. And if we can't get all 10 pins down in the 2 shots, get as many pins as you can. At the end of the day, it's about knocking more pins down than your opponent. Hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments, and we'll be back. Thanks a lot.